Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Nager Niblink. I'm the creator of Apples and Genos, originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy. In this podcast, Blake and I are going to talk about the biggest hot shots and have nots of the last couple of weeks and play a little Would You Rather. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend, the sidekick Brad Marchand gave us shy lick. Blake Creamer, how are we feeling tonight?
Oh, you biffed it, buddy, but that's fine. You know what? I'd be stoked if Brad Marchand gave me a shy lick. All right, maybe not even shy, maybe a more intentional. I don't know. We can dissect that later, but I feel great. It's really good to see you. Doing the waiver shows alone, it's not the same. You know what I mean?
It's not the same.
I need some help. I need some banter, right? Otherwise, I'm left to my own devices, and you see the results. So, but things are good, man. This has been a great week for fantasy. I'm so stoked. We got the playoffs coming up, and I feel like I'm in a good spot in almost every league. And I don't know, that makes me feel like I'm just excited. I feel like I'll be able to get some chips here. Definitely get in the top 3 in some of these leagues. So it's just my favorite time of year, and we're getting into it. I don't know. How you doing, my man?
Doing pretty good. Yep. Yeah, I've got 4 leagues, as you know, and looks like I'm gonna finish first in Kickoughful Tier 1, so that feels good.
That's no joke.
I'm gonna finish at somewhere between 2nd and 4th in the Patron League here, depending on the results the rest of tonight. So pretty solid there. Gonna finish 3rd in the Experts League, the Keeper League. And then in the Content Creators League, unfortunately, Josh is doing it to me this week. Unless something absolutely insane happens, it looks like I'm going to drop out of my buy spot there, even though I'll have the most points for in Fantasy Puck League. I'm not going to come away with a buy spot. So
just selfish, Josh. What are you doing?
Yeah, really. We should
take one for the team here. Yeah, exactly.
No, it's been good. Yeah, this is. I mean, I think it's the standard I hold myself to. You know, I feel like I should make the playoffs at the very least in all of these leagues, and there's a few that I feel that I should be getting a buy-in. So I think I'm at least meeting expectations, but obviously now comes the real rub, right? Like now we gotta make something actually happen as the playoffs get started here. So hopefully that happens, and hopefully we bring home some championships for you, man.
Oh, buddy, all bets are off. It's go time. Like I'm cooking this year. This has been such a good year. I mean, this is not bragging. It's just I've been putting so much time into this to make sure that I'm in good spots for my leagues, and it's really come to fruition. Like Experts League, I'm 4th, which is great because I gave all my draft picks away last year and this year, and I still I just got lucky with a couple draft picks, and I have some good keepers, so I think that's what held me in there. But I mean, I'm in a couple category leagues, 1 category league with the Locked On Boys. I'm 2nd place there. A&G Listener League, I'm battling Big Dipper. Shout out to the Big Dipper. We got a tattoo bet going on, and we're just duking it out here last match of the season. So I'll make the playoffs there. But Kickoughful has been really the league that I've been focusing on the most. That's the 14-teamer points league, and I'm 2nd there, but I've got the most points for, and I've got the 3rd most points against. So I feel like I should have done even better. I've been having a great season over there, and I'm just excited, man. We do this all the time, and this is it's all well and good for us to give you advice, but if we're not winning our leagues, why the hell are you listening to us? You got to win your leagues, and that's you and I take that seriously. And I think that's something that we're bringing to the table that I'm pretty excited to, at the end of the year, kind of dive in and look and see what we did here.
Yeah. I think that's definitely the standard we hold ourselves to, is we should be in and around winning every single league that we're in. At least making the playoffs. And then, there's obviously some variance that comes in once you hit the playoffs. Anybody can have a blow up week 1 week, and that's all that you have to make an impression in the playoffs and keep going. But I think that we're in and around it, and I think that's where we expected to be and where we wanted to be at this point. So shout out to us, really.
Feels good. Pat, you on the back. You want a high five?
Yeah. Virtual high five. Oh, this way.
You got to make the noise.
This.
No.
Oh,
Yeah. Now, one more
uh,
time. You went to the side, but
you
you're
went
just
the
hitting your
other
mic.
way.
Don't watch the YouTube, folks. Definitely, everything worked out fine if you listen to the podcast.
Everything is fine. Let's move over to the newsies, where unfortunately everything is not fine. Zach Hyman missing the game here Sunday. It was, yeah, it's something's going on. We're not entirely sure what, but he played kind of in and out of the game, and the Oilers' last game was a full participant in practice. Game time decision today didn't go. Doesn't sound too serious, but yeah, like you're also wondering about lingering injuries this time of year and how effective somebody will be for your fantasy playoffs. So definitely a situation to monitor if you're rostering Zach Hyman. Philip Hedl is in concussion protocol. That's not good. This guy has had multiple severe concussions that held him out for long stretches. Yeah, it sounds like he's going to be evaluated. He may travel with the team, but they're obviously going to keep this pretty under wraps with his history there. So something to watch out for there. The Canucks, they have a really good schedule, not this week, week 22, but week 23. They have 4 games, 4 off nights. So I'm sure there are some people with a bye this week, week 22, and they're licking their chops at having anybody from Vancouver with a pulse for that week, week 23, and get all those off nights. But yeah, it sounds like Philip Hedl may or may not be available, so keep an eye out there. Mackenzie Blackwood has missed the last 2 starts, but has backed up Scott Wedgwood, so they haven't actually had to call anybody up. It's just an illness, I guess, so he hasn't been feeling 100%. Felt like he shouldn't go, but yeah, it sounds like he should be back sooner rather than later if he's able to at least back up. But uh, another thing to monitor. Rupe Hintz returned on Sunday, took that puck to the face. I think we mentioned it on this show last week, but he looked good today, full complement of minutes. All is good there. Matthias Ekholm is supposed to be coming back sometime, maybe Tuesday, but no later than Thursday. Chris Knobloch is telling reporters. So that's the update we have on Matthias Ekholm. Josh Norris is likely going to travel with the team per Lindy Ruff. Yuri Kulik is in concussion protocol, took a big hit from Brett Howden last game, won't travel. Paterka is improving, has a chance to play Monday, but still hasn't practiced. Probably most likely scenario skips Monday and doesn't come back till Thursday when their next game is. Andrei Svechnikov is improving. Good chance he joins the team on the upcoming Western road trip and gets back in the lineup. And then lastly, Charlie McAvoy has started skating, practicing, shooting around and stuff like that. There's a chance at least that he plays before the season end here. Boston falling out of this playoff race. Do they really want to rush McAvoy back for no apparent reason? There's a good chance. It feels really 50-50, even if he's on the ice, whether they really feel it's necessary for him to come back and risk something bigger before the season ends here. Anything from there that I missed or that you want to highlight, Blake?
No, nothing here, but I do want to say Cutter Gauthier just scored again, Nate. What the
No.
hell is going on? This is first off, Cutter Gauthier is against me in the one spot that my matchup is up in the air, and this guy's tooting right in my face. My mouth was open, Cutter. Don't do me like that. He's crop dusting his farticles all over me. I'm sorry. All right, we got to carry on. We got a show to do here, but I'm torqued. All right, this is terrible.
All right, let's continue on. Let's get into some hot shots. Let's do that.
We should do that.
We should talk about a couple of players here. Alexei Protas and your favorite, Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Everybody's favorite.
Everybody's favorite.
Give it to me, Nate. Come, yeah, there you go. That's fine. We'll take that.
All right. Protas has 6 goals, 8 points in his last 5 games. Dubois has 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points in his last 5. Both skating, around 16 and a half minutes a night. Protas, 128 shots per 60, 60th individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, 109 Corsi, 4 per 60, 64 in on-ice scoring chances, 4 per 60. Pierre-Luc Dubois, 39th in shots per 60, 63rd individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, 33rd, Corsi, 4 per 60, and 30th in on-ice scoring chances, 4 per 60. Yeah, this is probably the best that Pierre-Luc Dubois has ever played in the NHL. I would say this is really good stuff from him. He's playing with what I guess you would call the second line. Really, it's a top 6 there. in Washington, but he is also playing on the top power play unit, which is a much bigger deal for his continued production, what we should expect from him moving forward. I know you've been a huge fan, and I think I might have to capitulate on the PLD love for this year, but talk to me about PLD and what you see as his potential for the rest of the season here.
Yeah, you know what makes that all better with PLD is that you actually roster him and you're crushing in the league that you roster PLD. That right there is all I need. I don't even need the capitulation. But yeah, I can say that I was in on PLD this year, but that's not exactly true. I had him for 65 points, and he's popping off like his pace is 72 points. It's just been a great season for PLD, and I think when you look back at it, what he was doing in LA, he was going from kind of a first line player, and he was expecting, like, he got first line money from LA, so he was expecting to be a first line player there, and they just weren't playing him in that capacity. So I think he's a little bit of a baby as well. I think, I think that's pretty well documented, and it didn't go well, and he's admitted as much, right? So that said, now he knows how to sort of play his role a little bit more. And this Washington team, my God, I was just digging in on some of the metrics, like from last year to this year. This is two different teams. Like last year, their offense was stagnant. Like they backed into the playoffs, like horrible goal differential. We remember that. They really weren't generating a damn thing. They were just efficient and lucky, right? But this season, holy moly, they're first overall in goals for in the league. They're generating a ton of chances off the rush. Their cycle and forecheck offense is popping off, and they have two solid lines, right? And PLD is the center for the second line. Obviously, they're massively efficient, right? Where you mentioned some of the metrics there, and it's showing out really good. Like Protas is great, but he's shooting 60% over the last 5 games. Like that's going to come down, okay? But I feel like this is a great supplementary line. Like obviously Dylan Strome is having an amazing year as well on the top line with Ovechkin. Wilson's playing amazing. So this line's kind of sneaking under the radar, PLD, Connor McMichael, and Protas. And I just think PLD with LA, he was relied on to do it all. He was the center there on his third line or whatever, and he was just relied on to do it all. And the guys he was playing with were terrible. That's just what it was. And this year, obviously we've got the emergence of Connor McMichael. That's a really nice piece actually for the Capitals, right? Especially as Ovechkin kind of fades off into the sunset here. You got another guy that this is a real player for them, and he's had a great year with this line. Protas is great. I don't know. I didn't see the Washington Capitals coming this year, and I think rest of the season. I mean, Protas, he's pacing for 72. Luc Dubois is pacing for 72. That's probably where they land, honestly. Like that doesn't feel crazy to me. Like I would say 65 to 75 point pace moving forward. That's where they live.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I can get there. I mean, yeah, you look at the full season PDO, it's the Capitals, the Jets, and then everybody else basically in
Yeah.
terms of that. The shooting percentage, they're 0.7 shooting points higher than anybody else, which is kind of wild when you think about the range that you would expect to see. These are both all 5v5 stats, I should clarify. So yeah, they're obviously having some luck along with being very good. I don't want to take away from the fact that they are being very good, but definitely there's a bit of luck baked in here. I think Protas is going to be a scary guy to to evaluate for next year. Like at the moment, like what are we doing? This is the best that he's played all year, and like you're just going to keep rolling with it as long as he's scoring and shooting. But going into next year, I think with a 75% IPP, 23% shooting percentage, 16% on ice shooting percentage, that's going to be a tough evaluation for next year to figure out where he might actually lie for next year. He could, command more minutes next year. There's a lot of things that could change between now and then that would make you back in again. But it is a spot where I am going to believe it when he goes cold too. You know what I mean? Just because the efficiency has been so outrageous. So there's an element of that. PLD, though, I think has actually demonstrated a new gear this year. I don't know if it's necessarily new. Like he had always shown the talent, right? It was just a
Yep.
matter of whether he was going to actually put it together on any given night. And for a couple of years there, he basically didn't. But this year, he's found a home. Everything is working, and the results are pretty obvious. So yeah, I will capitulate on PLD. I think yeah, 65 points where you had him is probably closer to where he should be. He's running hot again on a shooting percentage,
Yeah.
15.1%. That's not real, but um, it's still like, what are you gonna do at this point in the season, right? You're gonna ride it until it goes away, and I don't have a reason. Again, his underlying metrics suggest he's playing the best he's played all year right at this moment. So you live with it and you love it while it's happening. All right, next up, Jordan Eberle, 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points in his last 5 games. I think he got in on one of these goals here tonight, if I'm not mistaken, for Seattle. This game is ongoing. It's about halfway through the Winnipeg Seattle game right now.
Yep. One
Am I right
assist.
about that? One
Yep.
assist there. Yep,
Power play
on the power
assist.
play. So he's continuing to put up some points here. Just over 17 minutes average time on ice, 150th shots per 60, 129 individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. I brought up Eberle because he's one of these players who has been hot over the last 5 games and is actually widely available. Most of the guys, as I was looking through it, who have been scoring over the last few games are like all the guys you'd expect, right? Like the superstars.
Yep.
Eberle is a guy who might actually be available for you. Now, you're going to look at Seattle's schedule over the next few weeks, and it's not pretty. They have 3 games, 1 off night this week, week 22, 3 games, 0 off nights, week 23, 3 games, 2 off nights, week 24. How deep does the league have to be for you to be interested in Jordan Eberle, even when he's hot, Blake?
Yeah, it really at this time of year, it's so much more about schedule, right? Like
Yeah.
there are other guys like Eberle that I feel more confident in. That said, I mean, this is great. It's nice to see this is a guy that came back off injury, and is cooking right now. Like, what'd you say? 6 points in 5 games? Yeah,
Yep.
that's pretty damn nice. I mean, the on ice shooting percentage in the last 5 games, bonkers, right? Almost 20%. No, that's yeah. Everybody's running hot. He's playing with Chandler Stevenson. I mean, and Chandler Stevenson is popping off too. It's just they're just hot right now. But this is absolutely a line that can just go ice cold in a second, right? Like
Yeah.
Eli Tolvanen has played really well in the last few games as well. So I mean, yeah, they've had a couple good games, but I think Eberle away from McCann, I'm not that interested, to be honest. It's
Mm.
I need the McCann exposure there. I think those two are really good together. I mean, that said, he's popping off right now, but yeah, I think this just is easily like you said earlier about Protas, with Eberle, it just goes to 0, and that would not surprise me at all. So there's other guys I like on Seattle even better, like Jaden Schwartz, Matty Beniers, McCann. Obviously, I would rather roster those players than Eberle, but if you did pick him up and you're getting this production, that's such a win. Like this is a guy that you'll you'll remember if you stream a guy in and he does this, like Jordan Eberle, like you probably draft him next year inappropriately and be like, oh, why isn't he doing what he did last year? Like this is just a good, consistent player, Jordan Eberle, and I'm glad to see that he's putting up some production post injury.
Yeah, I will mention like Seattle plays Tuesday, Wednesday this week. Tuesday's the one night that you might be able to squeeze somebody in, so I wouldn't hate it. Just try to catch fire,
Yep.
or catch lightning in a bottle, I believe the expression is.
No,
I
catch
don't hate
fire in a
that.
bottle. Ooh, that sounds
That
nice.
sounds better, doesn't it?
I
Yeah.
don't.
Who makes these expressions? They
We
should
lost it.
consult us first, really. But
Fire in a
uh,
bottle. That's not real. Okay.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I think I would take him just because Seattle is so mercurial. Like they go back and forth every single game. I think I would take him over everybody except McCann at the moment, just for
Okay.
the fact that
Nice.
he's hot at the moment. Um, that's really as far as my analysis goes there. But yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday to start the week, like you could do worse, and people might be overlooking Seattle a little bit just for that start of the week. But yeah, that's obviously a short term thing, and then I'd be looking to move on pretty much immediately after that. All right, let's head over to Montreal where Juraj Slafkovsky is doing stuff again. 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points in his last 5, 19 and a half minutes average time on ice, 126 shots per 60, 141 individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, 66th in Corsi, 4 per 60, 163 in on ice scoring chances, 4 per 60. Slavkovsky is one of those guys who, like, as bad as it looked for all of the year, you heard me around this program saying, I
Yep.
think, like, there's still a chance that he just kind of pops at the end of the year. And I feel like we might be getting that at the moment. The underlying metrics aren't terrific, but they really don't have to be when he's playing with Suzuki and Caulfield. He just has to, like, play his part and know what his role is on that line. And I think that's possible the rest of the way here. So I don't want to discount that possibility. I think that it's just a player I want to be really open to moving forward. Montreal has a pretty good schedule here. This week, they're 3 games, 0 off nights, but then in weeks 23 and 24, they go 4 games, 2 off nights, 4 games, 1 off night. So you're going to get 8 games out of them, weeks 23 through 24, if your playoffs are happening then. Yeah, it's just a player that I want people to be aware of, and the fact that he's kind of feeling his oats right now.
Yeah, feeling his plums.
I was
Doing
going to
it. Yeah,
just lead you in there.
the fuzzy plums. I don't know.
Oh, no.
Are plums fuzzy? No.
Depends how much grooming you're doing.
Okay. All right. We're not sponsored by Manscaped, but we would be if they reached out to us. All right. I need that. I'll keep you updated on that. What am I even talking about? Yeah, I like Slavkovsky here. This is a guy that popped off at the end of last year. It was really nice. I'm just looking at his stats here. Last 20 games, last season, 19 points in 20 games, and he's kind of doing it again. And I really like the makeup of this line. They played together last year, ish, and they're playing together again this year. Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and Yuro Slavkovsky. And this line really reminds me of the Jets' top line: Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Gabe Vilardi. And to me, Slavkovsky is Vilardi. Right? This is a net front guy. This is a board battle guy. He's gritty. He gets hits. I mean, he hits a lot more than Vilardi, but I think that the players are comparable, right? Slavkovsky's he's not really driving the play. You need a guy like Nick Suzuki in there. Cole Caulfield's obviously the sniper, and Slavkovsky's sort of banging and slanging, and he's cleaning up the garbage, right? Do you remember that interview? And this is why I put a little bit of stock into some of this stuff. Is like he had an interview after he had a big game there. I think it was against Ottawa. He had a goal. He had a fight. He had 5 shots on goal, 8 hits, 15 minutes time on ice. And he was like, I'm pissed at myself. What the hell am I doing this year? He basically made a comment like that. Like, I'm embarrassed of what I've done this year. I need to get my crap together. And after that, he's been going nuts. This guy's been going bananas. Big time beefer. He's hitting like a truck, and his minutes have gone up. So I feel like there's some mental fortitude that he's showing here this year. He was like, enough is enough. And he's kind of put his pedal to the metal. And obviously he's playing with an amazing facilitator in Nick Suzuki and a great sniper in Cole Caulfield. And he doesn't have to do that much. Just be responsible out there, hit, right? And put the biscuit in the basket when you get an opportunity. And he's really thriving right now. I like Slavkovsky a lot moving forward. I think he's going to be a really helpful player for your teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, I tend to agree with all of that. Let's move over to Carolina. Taylor Hall sighting anyone? 2 goals, 5 points in his last 5, just under 16 minutes, average time on ice, 71st shots per 60, 248th individual scoring chances 4 per 60, 118 Corsi 4 per 60, 96th on ice scoring chances 4 per 60. He is on the top power play right now, playing at even strength with Jack Roslovic and Jesperi Kotkaniemi. This may just be a spot where Svechnikov is out, and so they're throwing together some power play lines. I think Brind'Amour, like, he has like those bath tiles with all his players' names on it, and he just goes and sits in the bath after the game, and he's like, "Here are my next lines," and he throws them against the wall, and that's pretty much how it goes. So
that's when he's doing his sit-ups.
Yeah, that's probably what he's doing. Every sit up, he like grabs another one and throws it against the wall. Yeah. Anyway, however he determines it, it's terrible for fantasy, but right now it's benefiting Taylor Hall. I wonder if you have any interest in Taylor Hall in some of these deeper leagues where you're just trying to catch lightning in a bottle. You need a win this week. Carolina goes 3 games, 1 off night this week. Again, they don't play until Thursday, and then they play Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, so they're kind of an end of the week look. You know, maybe if you got a Minnesota or a Toronto stream for the Monday, Wednesday off nights to start the week, and then maybe there's something to the end of the week. I don't know. How interested should we be in Taylor Hall if the deployment holds by the time we're looking at Thursday's game?
I mean, if this was the middle of the season, I'd be much more interested. But it's hard. We have to think about schedule here. And he's not going to get in on the Thursday. He's not going to get in on the Saturday, right? And then does Svechnikov come back? Because that's a really key piece here. he's playing power play 1 right now, Taylor Hall. And I don't see him keeping that with Svechnikov back in the lineup. And even if he does, Svechnikov's still going to take some touches away, and the leash is going to be really short there for the power play. So I don't trust that, but it's a nice spot for Taylor Hall right now. And I really like this player, like in terms of metrics, in terms of some of the metrics that I'm looking at. And I'm talking about like micro stats, Corey Schneider, all 3 zones. This guy is amazing, right? He does all the things that you want to see. It's just, he's not great defensively, right? And he's a little bit older, and it's kind of he's almost more of a specialist now, whereas he's not really relied on as a 20-minute guy. He's out there to kind of supplement the offense. But in terms of driving play and zone entries, this guy is in the 98th percentile in the entire league at 5-on-5, according to Corey Schneider's microstats. So he does that. This is a guy that's coming in. He's the one bringing the puck in. He's the one setting up the chances. He's great at shot assists and chance assists. So I love the player, but I don't trust the deployment at all. And with Svechnikov coming back, I think it's going to be a problem, and the schedule's terrible. So, if you have him, hold on to him. But I would think that this is probably something like they don't have anything invested in Taylor Hall at this point. So this is a guy that's like, oh, we got Svetch back. Hall, you're going back to PP2 and line 3 or line 4, right? His line played they played the least amount of even strike minutes in the last game there with Jack Roslovic. But you know what? Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Oh yeah, that's, you know what? Why didn't I even start with that? You get on a line with KK, it's blast off time, buddy. This man's a legend. But yeah, I'm not really super confident in Taylor Hall's resurgence here, but I'm really happy to see it. I think this is a great player, and in the right situation, he can absolutely be relevant for fantasy.
Yeah, I tend to just disbelieve anybody who's not like Aho in Carolina, right? Jarvis, I guess, has gained the circle of trust, but even then, he still gets randomly shafted to the Stahl Martinuk line from time to time. So yeah, I'm not super interested in Taylor Hall. Like if I had him in most spots, I'd be dropping him because he doesn't play until Thursday. Even if you were gonna play him on Thursday, like there's just more that you can do with that roster spot before Thursday. So I'd probably be dropping him regardless. That being said, like 3 games, 1 off night this week. It all starts on Thursday, and then they go 3 games, 2 off nights, 3 games, 2 off nights in the following 2 weeks. So there's something there. I don't want to like just glaze over this and say, oh, it's Taylor Hall. We're never going to think about it again.
Totally.
So I do want to just shout out that he's performing well right now, and I'm interested to see what happens here. I just tend to not believe it with Carolina and with Taylor Hall, but do have a good schedule after this week, so want to give him the shout out here and let people know to keep an eye peeled. Last on the hot shots list, we got to talk. We've done this before, but we got to do it again. It's Pavel Dorofeev and Thomas Hertl.
Let's
These
go.
guys are doing it once again. Dorofeev has 3 goals, 5 points in his last 5. Hertl, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points in his last 5. 16 and a half minutes for Dorofeev and 17 minutes for Hertl. Yeah, what are we going to say? Dorofeev is ranked 14th in shots per 60, 14th individual scoring chances for per 60. On the season, he's 7th in shots per 60 and 10th in individual scoring chances for per 60. I would love to see what he could do with 20 minutes a night, but 60 and a half is going to have to do for now. And so far, that's meant a 33 goal, 53 point pace on the season. Hertl is up to a 33 goal, 67 point pace himself. He's 17th in the league in individual scoring chances for per 60. Thomas Hertl. I don't know how many people saw that one coming. I don't know how much there's to say here. I just want to shout out these guys and say we absolutely love what's happening there in Vegas for these two.
What a shrewd pickup getting Thomas Hertl there. Like, yeah, like you said, under the radar, this is a guy that was the main guy in San Jose, but then he comes over here and he's more of a supplementary piece, but he's driving that line. And he's got an insane sniper in Pavel Dorofeev here. It's great to see. Like, I talked on the pod the other night. I think this is a 30 and 30 guy potentially next season if, they sort of prioritize him. And I'm interested to see what they do in the playoffs here because they do have a really good team and a lot of depth. But where does Pavel Dorofeev fit in there? Because this guy is a power play wizard. He's amazing on that power play, and he's at the end of the passes, right? And Thomas Hertl, it's just at even strength. This guy is feeding Dorofeev. Like Hertl has really been an excellent facilitator. Great chance assists, great shot assist, high danger passes, and Dorofeev's got a bomb of a shot. So I just like what I see here, and that line is really cooking. And I'm interested to see. I think we should all be watching what Dorofeev does in the playoffs here, because I think that this could be a potential sleeper in fantasy drafts next season.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be the only one, but I'm going to be drafting Dorofeev next year for sure. I'm going to be interested in all of that. Like the underlying metrics here too, like if you look on the season, 57% IPP, 13.5% shooting percentage,
Yeah, he's got room to grow.
11.1% on ice shooting percentage. Yeah, I think there's actually room to grow here for him. I think 40 goals next year is not out of the question by
Oh,
any
I
stretch.
love that. Okay, let's go.
All right, moving right along. Patreon plug here. $2 a month gets you access to Patreon only live shows. The one for March is already dropped, but if you join up, you'll have access to that immediately. You can go check that out. There'll be another one in April here for the patrons. $8 a month gets you those patron only live shows, patron only Discord channels, gets you show notes for the flagship show here and for the waiver wire show, and also gets you the Apples and Geos player evaluation tool to help you make those critical decisions in your playoff matchups. For $15 a month, you can join the Genos tier if you are a true degenerate when it comes to fantasy hockey. Get you all the previous perks mentioned, plus every single one of your questions guaranteed to be answered by yours truly. Blake, are you ready for some have-nots?
You know I'm ready, buddy. This is such a Debbie Downer part of this show, isn't it? And here's the have-nots. We need a transition that's like a sad trombone, like womp 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 womp. Here we go. Let's talk about these ding dongs.
All right. The first ding dong to talk about is Logan Cooley, who has scored tonight, which is going to lose me a category, honestly, in my my categories league. But
Selfish.
yeah, Logan Cooley, things have not been going his way since returning from injury, really. Before tonight's game, 0 points his last 5, 18 and a half minutes time on ice. He's still centering Keller and Nick Schmaltz, unless that's changed in this game. I didn't see actually the lines in this game, so
That was the
maybe I should.
initial line there, but I'm not sure if they changed it up mid-game.
Yeah, it does actually look like they did some interesting stuff in this game. So Kerfoot went up with Schmaltz and Keller, and Cooley was playing with Gunther and Hayton.
Ooh,
That is kind of
I
interesting,
don't hate
actually.
that.
Yeah, not the worst, except Kerfoot is an obvious plug. Uh, but Cooley has not been generating, which is the really mysterious thing here. 313th shots per 60, 347th individual scoring chances for per 60, just like nothing happening there. 194th Corsi for per 60 and 269th in scoring chances for per 60. Like, I know he's not on the top power play, but he's playing with Keller and Schmaltz, has been for all these 5 games that we're talking about here, and just completely unable to drive anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit odd because everything had been trending really well for Cooley. He had made his way up to the top line, made his way onto the top power play. Then the injury hits, and he comes back, and he's seemingly completely ineffective now. I have to wonder if there's something underlying here that he's working through still, and it's not quite working out. What's your take, Blake? And would you be rostering Logan Cooley through a week where it's going to be tough to get him into your lineup?
Yeah, I'd be trying to hold Logan Cooley for sure. I know he's having a rough time right now, but the acumen of this player is one that I think I want to be in on, right? And at this time of year, obviously, like Logan Cooley is droppable. You need games played. You need to win your matchup. Like, sure, it makes total sense. But I'm trying to hold on. Like digging in here at 5-on-5, his metrics, they look very similar to what they were last year. So he's very consistent across the board. All the metrics that we talk about, his on ice shooting percentage is higher. So maybe a little bit too high even. So at even strength, maybe he's cooking a little bit too much, but that's fine. And he's been good on the power play. Like that's why he's pacing for a 64-point pace. He has 16 power play points. But yeah, this has been a rough stretch here, and he's had some good opportunity, and he hasn't really been able to do anything with it. One of the things that I look at a lot now is, and I've talked about it before, but controlled entries that lead to chances. And even though he's not playing well right now, he does that. He's really, really good at that. And that's something that, I've learned throughout kind of what I'm doing here, that if you come into the league with that, like this is a 20-year-old guy. If you come into the league with that, it doesn't go away, right? Like guys that came into the league with that kind of talent, Jack Hughes, right? Like I'm not saying that he's comparable to Jack Hughes, but he's in the vicinity, right? This is an amazing rush player, a guy that can drive play and set up chances for his teammates. So he's a young guy, and he's kind of going through it right now. I still like the 64-point pace. I really trust the player. Certainly, draftable next year. I'm interested in the player. Would I hold him through a tough week? Like I said, I think I'm going to try and do that. I'd love it better if he was on power play 1. That's really a hard piece there. And that's why I wouldn't hesitate at all if I had to be like, okay, Cooley, you're off the team. Like, I don't think they're going to be putting Hayton on power play 2 and Cooley on power play 1 at this point, where I did before. I thought they would make that change once Cooley got back from injury, and it just hasn't happened. Hayton's been playing really well in that spot. So yeah, just if you project Logan Cooley as a second line center, second power play guy, I think we're looking at a 60-point pace moving forward. That's valuable, right? But if you can't get him in your lineups, drop him.
Yeah. I think that's a fair take. I'm just far more concerned about the fact that he's been completely unable to generate anything here. Obviously, he's got the goal in the game today. It's still just 2 shots.
Yep.
Yeah, they're trying obviously different things, moving him around. So yeah, I like based on what I'm seeing in the underlying metrics at this moment in time, I have a lot less confidence in Logan Cooley moving forward than you do. Very possible that across these 3 games he starts to put things back together. Maybe he just needed this goal to start to figure things out. Maybe it's all mental and it's not lingering injury like I'm kind of worried about here. But 3 games, 0 off nights for Utah this week. If he's the guy that you're benching this week, and you can find somebody that actively is going to score points on your week, and you need this week, whether it's playoffs or the last week before your playoffs, whatever the case may be, if you need points this week and he's on your bench, I would not hesitate to drop Logan Cooley. All right, let's move over to Minnesota. Matt Zuccarello showing up here. The Zucchini Man wasn't very good, was it, Blake?
It was amazing. But I don't think you understand. I get so much joy. And from when you say those things, and when people in our Discord and people on X say these sayings that I say all the time, that gives me a lot of joy. So if you want to do that, just randomly hit me up in the DMs with a big Zucchini Man. Awesome stuff. There you go.
Just 1 goal in the last 5 games for Matt Zuccarello, skating 21 and a half minutes a night. Like, they need their top guys to be their top guys right now. 55th shots per 60, 65th individual scoring chances 4 per 60, 23rd Corsi 4 per 60, 39th on ice scoring chances 4 per 60. The underlying metrics are way better than Zuccarello's numbers on the year. So this is really like as good as he's played under the hood. It's just not going in the net at the moment. So, talk to me about Zuccarello. They have a good start to the week. They play the Monday, Wednesday off nights, but then tough to roster him through the back half of the week. Is he just like a streamer level, like get the Monday, Wednesday, and then drop him for the back half? Or where are you at with Matt Zuccarello now?
He's above streamer level to me, just because of what his schedule is the week after, right? Like, or is it the week after? I don't remember what week it is. Maybe it's week 24. Maybe your finals week where Minnesota play 4 games and 4 off nights. But
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if you're not there. So
Yep.
don't worry about that. He's just above streamer level to me. But this team, the Minnesota Wild, extremely low event hockey right now. Without Kirill Kaprizov, this team is struggling. Absolutely struggling. They're locking it down. Like, think the 1995 New Jersey Devils. Like, that's how the Wild have to play to win. And I will say that, on the year, Zuccarello has clearly, I think he's had some age-related decline for sure. Like, digging in on some of his metrics here, like, he's not generating any chances. Rush shots, he's at the 1 percentile. 1. So he's not, like, he just doesn't do that, right? He's not getting any shots off the rush, and shots off the rush are your best chance to score. They honestly are. The team doesn't have a chance to get set up. Obviously Cyclone Forecheck works for some teams like Florida, Carolina, but shots off the rush, you need to have that in your arsenal, and Minnesota just doesn't have it, and Zuccarello certainly doesn't have it. So it's been an interesting season for him, but I love this last run of play. Like, I think he's trying to put the team on his back, and he might not have it, right? But he's getting over 20 minutes average time on ice. I love that. The metrics are better. This is not a guy that shoots and generates individual scoring chances for himself, but he is doing that the last 5 games. He's doing everything he possibly can. So I'm definitely trying to hold on to Zuccarello because he's still got that power play 1. I mean, Matt Boldy has been, he can't hit the broadside of a barn. Okay. But he's still chucking pucks. He's still shooting like a maniac. He just can't score. So eventually I like to think that Matt Boldy will start scoring, right? He'll start putting the biscuit in the basket. And when he does, Matt Zuccarello is going to be there to, get some of those points. And they also got Marco Rossi on there, who's no slouch as well. So it's a buy low situation. He should be doing better than he is, but Minnesota is basically a one-line team for offense anyway, and that's not a great place to be. So yeah, just above streamer level for me. I'm trying to hold him, but if you got to drop him, do it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. There's a spot in one of my leagues where Zuccarello is available, and I think I might try to pick him up maybe for the Monday, Wednesday,
Yep.
but then I'm probably dropping him again
Yeah.
unless there's really something, injuries or whatever happen. But yeah, the back end of the week is tough if he's not above the level of the other right wingers on your team. Like that's a team that I've got Brian Rust, I've got Alex Tuck, I've got Dylan Gunther. Is he really above those guys? And those are right wing only guys as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah.
Like that's where it starts to be a little bit more of a conversation, right? But I tend to agree. Like I'm super excited about grabbing Zuccarello if somebody's dropped him through this cold stretch, and then you pick him up here, and if you can hold him through all of this, that'd be fantastic. I just don't know how likely that is. If you're picking him up, it might just be a Monday, Wednesday situation, and then you got to reevaluate how your matchup's going and how things are looking before saying conclusively that yeah, I'm okay to hold him, even though I'm probably not even putting him in the starting lineup for Saturday. So yeah, definitely a player I'd be excited to have on the roster though, especially in deeper formats. Kyle Palmieri, really good underlying stuff for Kyle Palmieri, but just one goal in his last five, just about 20 minutes a night. Like they have nobody left on Long Island.
Yeah.
So 36 shots per 66th individual scoring chances for per 60, 25th Corsi 4 per 60, 72nd in on ice
Jeez.
scoring chances 4 per 60. Yeah, again, another guy playing the best best hockey of the season right now. Him and Bo Horvat, though, can't get it going, playing together at even strength and on the top power play unit. Palmieri, this is a spot where the Islanders play 3 games, 0 off nights this week. So they have that poor schedule this week, but then come back next week with 4 games, 3 off nights. Uh, I think to me, Palmieri, the fact that he's doing really well in the underlying metrics, I feel like I can keep that a secret. You know what I mean? So unless he really pops off this week, I feel like you can drop him this week and you can probably add him back next week in most leagues, unless it's an Apples and Ginos listener league. Maybe you don't want to try that maneuver, but in a lot of other spots, I feel like this is a spot where you can comfortably let go of Kyle Palmieri, and if things go really well and you want to sneak an early ad to get him back for the following week, if things are still looking good under the hood, you can probably do that. What's your take, Blake?
I love that take. Actually, that's a really smart thing. Like just leave him on the wire, right? Like no one is going to be picking up Kyle Palmieri for Thursday and Saturday. In fact, they might be dropping him because he's not going to get into games. But like underlying metrics popping the hell off. This guy is doing the thing. Like he's generating a ton. He's generating a ton of shots, ton of like all that offensive contribution. This guy's off the chain. He's off the chain wax. Oh yeah, he does that. And yeah, they don't have anybody else. So his minutes, his opportunity is really clear. So I think this is a really shrewd pickup for going into that next week where they have the 4-3. So yeah, I'm with you there, man. I think this is a guy that I'm interested in, but I'm not picking up for this week.
All right. Over to Philadelphia, Matvey Michkov just 1 assist in his last five, 18 minutes a night. So that looks okay. 62nd shots per 60, 110 individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, 39th in Corsi, 4 per 60, but 200th in on ice scoring chances, 4 per 60. On the season now, 25 goal, 58-point pace for Matvey Michkov. Philadelphia has a pretty solid schedule this week. They play 4 games. They have the Monday off night here and then the Sunday off night if you can make it all the way there. What do you think people should be doing with Matvey Michkov, Blake?
I mean, if he's there, right? Like this is a garbage week. You need those off nights. Philly plays 4 games with 2 off nights. So you're getting the Monday and the Sunday. I'd be adding him immediately. If he's out there, you got to add Matvey Michkov. Deployment be damned. He's currently getting the reasonable deployment. So let's just roll with it, right? I mean, you got a whole week to deal with it. He's might not make your roster for Thursday and Saturday, but having him on the Sunday, it'd be pretty sweet. I think the guy's an ad. We've talked about this guy enough. He's very talented. It's all deployment based, and right now, it's not that bad, right? Like, what did you say? 18 minutes a night. That'll do. Okay, that will absolutely do. And power play 1. I'm happy to have Mishkov on my team for this week.
Yeah, I tend to agree. The one caveat I will say, because the off nights are so far away from each other and the two heavy nights are super heavy, you know, you could play him for this Monday off night, and then you don't play. You'd have potentially 5 days where you don't play him. A lot can happen in 5 days
Mhm.
on a John Tortorella team. Like, what if he's scratched on the Sunday and you've held him all week and you've burned a roster spot doing that and you've let go of other
Pain.
players? Like, that does give me pause, I will say. Um, I tend to agree that the week is just so bad that like there are worse things you can do than hope for a Matvey Michkov pop-off game on the Sunday, right? That really brings home your matchup for you and gets you through to the next round. So yeah, I'm kind of two minds on that front. I am worried about the situation where he's just like demoted to the fourth line and or scratched outright for the Sunday game that you've been holding him all week for. But the potential for him to actually win you your week on that Sunday game is also there. So, yeah, you gotta kind of weigh the risk reward. Maybe if you're a big dog to a much better team this week, then Michkov is a swing you want to take because of the potential for him to absolutely pop off.
Yep.
But yeah, that's one that it's hard to sign off on completely, just given the Tortorella factor. All right, last one here. Brock Faber. Brock Faber has just one goal in his last 5 games, skating 27 and a half minutes a night. Brock Faber, 63rd in shots per 60, but 11th in individual scoring chances for per 60, 15th in Corsi for per 60, and 11th in on ice scoring chances for per 60. Underlying's looking pretty good for Brock Faber over the last little bit. Again, probably the best of his season so far over this last little stretch of play. My question to you, Blake, is Brock Faber worth holding this week? Minnesota plays 3 games, 2 off nights this week. The off nights may not matter as much for your defensemen unless you're rostering 5 or more. But they only play the 3 games this week, then 4 games, and then 4 games the following weeks. Are the underlying metrics enough to keep you interested in Brock Faber this week? Or, you talked about Jackson Lacombe before we got on being available in one of your leagues. Would you make the switch for Lacombe? No games played added, and not as good of a schedule moving forward if you make it past this week. But
Mhm.
how would you evaluate a play like that? Are you worried about the fact that the puck's not going in the net for Minnesota? Is that enough to get you off of Faber? What's the temperature here?
Yeah, all good questions. I think I would have Faber over Lacombe, but I don't think that Faber is better than Lacombe for
Right.
fantasy. I think it's a schedule play and it's a safety play. Brock Faber, his power play one is not going anywhere, even though the power play is god awful. They're 28% or 28th overall in the league in percentage, right? What the hell? How their special teams are atrocious. They're 30th overall in penalty kill. Like, how are they even in the playoffs? This is insane. This is like last team's Washington, basically. Like, how did you get here, guys? But I don't know. Faber being power play one and the amount of minutes he's getting, that just means more opportunity for him to accrue points. But he's on a 31-point pace. And I think like he had 47 points last year. That to me is absolute ceiling for Brock Faber. I don't think that's not even close to what we should expect from this guy. He has a 31-point pace this year and he's shooting 8.1%. So he's kind of cooking for his goals too. He should have less. So I think this is kind of a 30 to 40-point defenseman moving forward, and we should value him as such, right? But the fact is he's got power play one. Certainly this week you're holding for Monday, Wednesday. And if it's just donuts for Monday, Wednesday, and you're in trouble, yeah, you drop Brock Faber, no question, because this guy is not a dynamo. He's just plays a ton of minutes, and through sheer like just being out on the ice, he's bludgeoning his way to points. If that even happens, right? So, yeah, my 2 cents: hold him for the Monday, Wednesday, and evaluate then. But just know that Minnesota does have a good playoff schedule moving forward, especially in week 24, where they have the perfect schedule. And that's something that could put you over the top, even if he's not scoring like, oh, he doesn't hit either. Oh my God, buddy. Just the fact that he's out there for this insane amount of minutes, there's a good chance that he can accrue some points for you in 4 games that you'll definitely get him in for in week 24. So yeah, I'm trying to hold on to Brock Faber if I can.
Yeah, I think that's a good analysis there. I think with power play one, Faber is a 40 to 45 point defenseman for me as a point pace. So yeah, roughly every other game you would normally expect to get a point. Yeah, with the Wild just really struggling to score right now, that's a tough spot, but we do see underlying metrics that suggest they should start to do that sooner rather than later. So
Mhm.
overall, I think if you got Faber, you're probably holding him. There's not a lot of defensemen commonly available on waiver wires that I would drop him for. You know, I've seen Ekholm dropped in places. I'd take Faber over Ekholm pretty comfortably. Wallman, if he was dropped, I think I would still take Faber over Wallman. That would be closer, but better schedule for Faber through the playoffs. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at there. All right, let's kick it over and do some would you rather. Before we get there, I should say if we didn't talk about a player that you want to hear about, you should join me Monday, 8 p.m. EST every single week. I'm right here on the Apples and Genos YouTube live streaming the Puzzling Players episode. Come in, join, drop your comments, and I answer all those questions there. All right, let's get into it. Let's do the would you rather here, Blake. So I
Woo.
put this one together for you this week. Right off the top, we got some centers, and we are taking into account the immediacy of we need wins now, right?
Yep.
This
Yep.
is go time. It's either the week before playoffs or it is the first week of playoffs for these people. What do you do? Macklin Celebrini, 62% rostered. Bo Horvat, 68% rostered. Evgeny Malkin, 40% rostered. Obviously, one of these things is not like the others in terms of the rostership percentage, but Malkin has that schedule this week where you might actually get all 3 games from him, whereas Celebrini only plays 2 games on the heavy nights, and Bo Horvat is playing all heavy nights this week as well, and he's been cold, as we mentioned. So, Celebrini, Horvat, Malkin, who would you rather?
Oh dang. This is a spicy meatball. Um oh god, these schedules are terrible. All right. Well, I mean, just based on the player, you're obviously going Macklin Celebrini, but they've got a 2-game week here, which is really stinky. So yeah, we're basically asking 2 games of Celebrini or 3 of Malkin, maybe 1 of Horvat. Oh, that stinks. I think I would go Malkin. Oh, oh man. Malkin, Celebrini, and Horvat. That's what I'm gonna roll. I think that's yeah, that's my final answer. I think Malkin has been pretty trash lately, but Pittsburgh's starting to pick it up a little bit, and I don't mind that. So I mean Malkin's 3 points in 5. Sure. I'm going Malkin, Celebrini, Horvat.
Yeah, I think you could order this a lot of ways. If you're getting all 3 games from Malkin this week, and like it's not only that Celebrini is only going to play those 2 games for you this week, it's that on those days where he is playing, he's going to kick somebody else out of your lineup, right? Whereas Malkin is a direct add, a direct influx of 3 games played to your lineup, and that's so huge in a week like this. So
Yep.
I think you're correct to go with Malkin there, especially if you're getting all 3 games this week from him, which is pretty likely, quite honestly. Celebrini versus Horvat, the 1 game difference is not a huge thing there to me, and I would just go with Celebrini, who's the better player overall. That being said, Horvat does have the better schedule week 23, so I could see that one argued the other way as well,
Yep.
especially if he starts to pop off, with the Tuesday game. It could quickly turn the other way, but as of right now, I think you got it right. I think I would go Malkin, Celebrini, Horvat as
Thank you,
well.
Nate. Thank you.
All right, heading over to the left wingers, we got Juraj Slavkovsky, 62% rostered, Valery Nichushkin, 58% rostered, and then Quentin Byfield at 50% rostered. So tell me what you think here. Montreal goes 3 games, 0 off nights this week, but then, as we mentioned, Slavkovsky does have a better schedule after that. Colorado plays Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, so 3 games, 1 off night there, but don't play for the first couple of days of the week. And then Los Angeles this week plays 4 games with 2 off nights, and Byfield, as you know, has been doing pretty well for himself as of late. So Slavkovsky, Nichushkin, Byfield, who'd you rather?
Oh man, yeah, this stinks. When I first looked at this, I was like, "This would you rather's." I was like, "Okay, rest of season, for playoffs." But like thinking about this week in particular, it changes it a little bit. So yeah, I think, I mean, and if it was for rest of season for this one, I would have taken, I think, Slavkovsky. I like what's going
All
on
right.
there. And I think there's a better schedule, right? There's more off nights, but in terms of this upcoming week, we have to look at that. And LA has the best schedule out of all these teams, followed by Colorado, followed by Montreal. So That said, I think I want a piece of that power play one in Colorado. So I'd probably go Nichushkin, then Byfield, then Slavkovsky. That's how I'd roll here.
Yeah, I think these players are close enough for me that I'm just gonna go straight schedule, and I'm gonna go Byfield, uh, then Nichushkin, then Slavkovsky.
Yeah.
I could see the Slavkovsky over Nichushkin. Um, But yeah, it's tough to roster somebody who's not getting in any games for you this week. If
Yeah.
Slavkovsky is getting the same amount of games as Nichushkin, then I could see going Slavkovsky, and then kind of looking ahead to say, if I do get through this week, then beyond that, Montreal has a better schedule. So I could definitely see that kind of analysis coming into play there.
Yep.
But yeah, thinking pretty solely about this week. You got to have a win this week. That's the way I'd go. If you have like a bye this week and you're looking ahead, then the calculus definitely changes. And then I'm probably going with Slavkovsky first
Yeah.
there
Me too.
for the schedule. But these players are close enough for me that it is really down to schedule at this point in the season. Over to right wing, we got Brian Rust, 41% rostered, Matt Zuccarello, 50% rostered, and then Patrick Kane at 65% rostered. I think most people, like Kane is at 65% rostered, as I mentioned, significantly above the other two. I think a lot of people would take Kane and not think twice about it. But again, the schedule coming out to bite us this week. Detroit, just the two games, and both on heavy nights, Tuesday and Saturday, they play this week.
Mm-hmm.
Zuccarello starts the week with the Monday, Wednesday off night, so you're getting him in there. Rust has the same schedule as Malkin, obviously, the Tuesday, Friday, Sunday. So it's a nice schedule there where you might be able to get all three games in from Brian Rust. Rust, Zuccarello, Kane, would you rather?
Yeah, this one's a little easier to me. Obviously, Kane to me is the player I'd like to have just in general if it's mid-season. But like you said, the schedule, we got to get these games. This is a garbage week, and these games played are really important. And if a guy like Brian Rust is out there and available, and you could get him in 3 games potentially, that's a no-brainer to me. I think Brian Rust, even in these players, like I think he's the best player metrics-wise. I think he's the guy that has the best chance at getting some points, even regardless, right? And this is a drum we've been banging all year, especially yourself. So I'd go Brian Rust, I'd go Matt Zuccarello, I'd go Patty Kane. Obviously, Pittsburgh has an okay schedule. Like Zuccarello has really the best schedule moving forward, I would say. But I mean, he's nowhere close to Brian Rust to me in terms of what he can do potentially for fantasy. And then Patrick Kane, yeah, Detroit, it's not an amazing schedule moving forward. Obviously, this week they have the 2 games, so that's garbage. What is Detroit's schedule? Yeah, like 9 games, 3 off nights in 22 to 24 weeks, and then 13 games with 7 off nights in weeks 23 to 25. So yeah, I'm going Rust, Zuccarello, Patrick Kane.
Yeah, I think that's the correct answer here for me as well, especially if you are getting all 3 games of Rust this week. I will say if you do have a bye this week, or it's the week before your playoffs and it doesn't actually change your playoff matchup and you can afford to look ahead to week 23, then I would flip flop. I would put Rust down because the schedule isn't as good for Pittsburgh after this week. I would put Zuccarello first, then Kane, then Rust. I would pretty much just rotate Rust down to the bottom of the list after that. So
Rotate
that's
him.
the way I would go. Over to defense, Brock Faber, who we were just talking about, 71% rostered. Mason Lowry, 14% rostered. And then Morgan Riley, 82% rostered. A little bit of a lower rostership sandwich here for Mason Lowry. I think it's a valid conversation, though, because Lowry is a guy getting top power play minutes, has some maybe offensive potential that has been a bit untapped. Whereas, Faber, I think everybody's starting to see this is not a guy with a huge offensive ceiling. Riley is the highest rostered, but has had a really uninspiring year so far. Interesting schedule notes here. Riley plays 4 games, 2 off nights for Toronto this week. As we mentioned, Minnesota, 3 games, 2 off nights this week. And then Boston plays 4 games, 2 off nights this week. So, Blake, Faber, Lowry, Riley, who would you rather?
Yeah, this is a good one, and I think it's kind of a trick question, right? To me, I think Lowry is the obvious answer for this upcoming week. It's between Lowry and Morgan Riley, right? Because they both have that 4-game, 2 off night schedule, but Lowry has power play 1, and Riley is probably not going to touch power play 1, right? And their metrics are both similar. So I think, yeah, Mason Lowry, you go with the upside there. Bruins they're playing a little bit better as of late. I mean, their power play is going okay. So I'd take Lowry, then Riley, then Faber. Even though Faber does have that Monday, Wednesday, we're just talking like, potential for fantasy production trying to win this week. We've already talked about Minnesota's schedule moving forward and what we do with Brock Faber. But of these three players for this upcoming week, I'm going Lowry, Riley, Faber.
Yeah, I think I would change it up a little bit there. I would go Lowry first, but I would go Faber second. I think Riley is just dead weight at this point. Yeah, it's
You're
rough.
biased.
It is rough watching what is happening to the Toronto Maple Leafs right now, but that's a story for another day. Uh, and then Faber, if you do make it beyond this week, then you get the
Yeah.
benefits of Minnesota's schedule moving forward. I just don't think Riley is going to outscore Faber by enough with the extra game this week that it's really going to matter. Um, Maybe he does, but it feels like a very low percentage outcome that Riley really goes off this week and Faber really stinks. So yeah, I think I would go Lowry first for the extra game because I do think him and Faber are pretty comparable in a lot of respects for this week. But Lowry has the extra game played. But yeah, if you are looking ahead, then it's Faber for sure. All right, heading over to goaltenders. Fyodor
Yay.
Kochetkov, 81%. Joseph Woll, 78%, and Spencer Knight, 28%. Again, a little bit of one of these things is not like the other with Spencer Knight all the way down there at 28%. 50% rostership difference between him and the next here in Joseph Woll. So Blake, Kochetkov, Woll, Knight, who would you rather?
Oh man, this is a kind of a stinky one because I like that picture. Go check out the YouTube, folks. We got a guy spraying the water bottle here. That's Spencer Knight. What a legend. Sorry, that makes no sense if you're listening to the pod. That's fine. Yeah, these are all comparable. They're all goalies that should probably get 2 starts next week. I mean, Kochetkov is the one. Maybe he doesn't get 2 starts.
Yeah, I
Right?
don't think he will.
Yeah. So one start of Kochetkov, like he's the number one to me, no question. Carolina's playing amazing, but will he get 2 starts? I think it's questionable. So that being said, I think I got to go Joseph Woll here. I got to go Joseph Woll, probably Spencer Knight, and then Kochetkov. But it's because we need the games played. That said, if your format is really heavy on rate stats as opposed to volume stats in terms of goalies, then you got to go Kochetkov, right? Because of the insane defensive environment there in Carolina. But if it's volume and just wins you need, Spencer Knight is going to give you a better chance at that. So I'm going to default to that. I'll go Woll, Knight, Kochetkov.
Yeah, I would assume that Wall is going to start here Monday against Calgary, and then on Thursday on the back half of the back-to-back against the New York Rangers. So that's probably the setup for Wall. Kochetkov played the last game for Carolina, and Carolina only plays 3 games this week. So I'm assuming that they come back with Anderson for the San Jose game on Thursday, and then probably Kochetkov gets the tough LA game where Anderson comes back against Anaheim on the back-to-back on the Sunday. So I actually kind of like Anderson if he's been dropped in a spot as a sneaky pickup for this week. But then I think Wall makes a lot of sense, but the Leafs are playing so poorly right now that that's a little bit tough to stomach. Whereas Spencer Knight could be the answer if you're looking for a 0G option. Yeah, they play 4 games this week. It would not shock me if he got 3 of these games. They said that it was going to be 50-50, and then Spencer Knight has played terrifically, and Soderblom has played horrifically. And Spencer Knight has already played 2 games in a row. It would not surprise me if they went away from that in a hurry, and Spencer Knight got 3 games this week as Chicago plays 4. So I think it's between Wall and Knight for this week. I think I might go Knight, to be quite honest with you,
Oh
but I wouldn't
my.
fault you for going either way. All right, let's look under the hood here. Last segment of the day. Quentin Byfield is the subject. Last 10 games, he's got 6 goals, only 1 assist, 19 minutes, 13 seconds average time on ice. That's been shooting up as of late. 150th in shots per 60, not so great, but 19th in individual scoring chances for per 60. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about him because there's such a disparity here between shots and scoring chances, which is pretty interesting to see. 36 Corsi 4 per 60, 48th in on ice scoring chances 4 per 60. He is the new true 1C. Anze Kopitar has handed over the reins here, unofficially, if you want to call it that, but it has happened in Los Angeles. Quentin Byfield is that dude now. The underlying metrics are not like so elite that I'm like saying that this is the way it's going to be forever. Quentin Byfield, superstar, 90 plus point pace, rest of season into next year. It's not to that level, but it's very clear that he has found a new level here, playing with Kevin Fiala all the time, obviously getting lots of looks in that respect and getting big time minutes for the Los Angeles Kings. Uh, I think it's just a classic case of not every prospect develops the same way. Not every player develops the same way. This is the first year he's been asked to play center a lot. So that's obviously going to change how you approach the game and give you another learning curve on top of what he's had to deal with the last few years. So I think that he's kind of taken a good chunk of this year to kind of figure all that out. And now it's really starting to click for him. And he's starting to become the player that everybody thought he could be. And that's pretty exciting for a guy of his obvious talents, the speed, the size, the shot when he lets it go. Yeah, you can really see how this can really pop off. The only part that, you're waiting to see is will he get that elusive top power play
Mhm.
for longer, and can he be a force there? It's not like the LA power play is popping off. Like, do we have to have Andre Kuzmenko out there? I feel like we could maybe work in some Quentin Byfield here, but either way, that does kind of still leave him even some ceiling, right? And that does make me a little bit excited. What's your take on Byfield, both for this season and looking ahead to next year? Do you think he'll be a target for you?
I think so. I feel what you're saying there. I think that there's been a passing of the torch here from Kopitar to Byfield, and maybe like we're not seeing the fantasy benefit of that this year. Like obviously he's doing well right now, but I mean we called this guy for I don't remember what I projected him for, but it was probably a lot higher than what he has right now. Right, he's pacing for 50 points. I think I probably had him for like 60 or something. That might happen next year. Like this might be like a 60 to 70 point player next year. But it's like you said, it's definitely reliant on power play one. He needs to get there. I don't trust Andre Kuzmenko on this LA Kings power play, especially because he hasn't done anything yet. Like, are they just going to keep trotting Big Kuzi out there, like with the banana and the Pepsi, and just like you gotta do something, my man, right? And it's not really working. So I think it's kind of a short leash there for Kuzmenko, and I think that Quentin Byfield is the obvious next choice to go up there. So I'm a big fan of the player. I think next year is really the true breakout that we see Byfield maybe take another step.
Yeah, tend to agree there. I just quickly looked it up. I had him for 57 points. Right now, he's on a 50-point pace. So he might get there yet with some increased responsibility here
Now I
towards
gotta
the end of
look.
the season. I think it's at least possible for Quentin Byfield to get there. It's a new era. I think I would say in LA. I do want to see that power play come through
Oof.
for him. Maybe it will on the last bit, but what did you have him for?
62.
Okay.
62 points, buddy. He's really just hurting my feelings. But that's fine. Maybe next year, buddy.
All right. Last order of business, recapping the head-to-head streamer deathmatch, and amazingly, your boy picked up a win this week. I picked Jonathan Drouin, and he came through on the last day with a goal and an assist. 9.75 total kick-up points on the week for Jonathan Drouin. Amazing stuff, but it was enough to beat Fabian Zetterlund, who Blake picked, and he has played fourth line minutes for the Ottawa Senators. And it is a 6.75 point week for Fabian Zetterlund. Blake, what do you have to say for yourself?
I don't know. What goes up must come down. Okay. And this was what the hell kind of match was this? Thank God
Yeah.
Jonathan Drouin did something. Otherwise, we're like, what happened here? We're just getting peripheral points. Like, oh, good
Yeah.
stuff. All right, that's fine.
Yeah, this might be the only week on record where both of our players were under double digits in kickoff points scored on the week.
Ew.
That's not exactly where we want to be. So, yeah, we'll seek to do better next week. Blake, who do you have on tap for next week?
All right, buddy. This is a lock. You people out there, you want a lock? I got a big one. All right, big time. I'm taking a 3-gamer this week. I've dabbled in this before, and I'm gonna dabble again. I'm taking Mackie Samoskevich of the Florida Panthers. This man's about to pop the hell off. This team's pissed. They lost tonight to the Islanders. They got to be in their bonnet. They're gonna go off next week. Book it.
All right. Blake goes Mackie Simiskevich for 3 games. I'm going to go Morgan Geeky for 4 games. He's gone a little bit quiet
Love it.
in the last little bit, but I mean, the guy's skating like 20 minutes a night. Boston has literally no one else. He plays with Pasternak, line one, power play one. Hopefully, that's enough to push him over the edge for me this week. All right. Well, if you made it this far, you should definitely click the link in the description. Join the Discord community, 1500 plus fantasy managers talking fantasy hockey. If you need some help to get through your fantasy playoffs, that's the place to get it. Like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, whatever you might like to do. That would really help us out. But that's going to be all that we got for this episode. Hopefully, it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, which is a terrific free resource. Many thanks to the band. They're there for supplying music for the podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. That's it, folks. Much love.